Welcome to Be For Real the Podcast, Episode 5, Open Door of Grief. I am your hostess with the mostest, Destiny. And hey y'all. We back, baby. Yeah. But nah. Can we talk about consistency? We're here yet again. May not be frequent, but we consistent, okay? Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Listen, I feel like I've been going through a whole lot of life ever since, well, before this podcast even began. I was already going through a lot of life. But I just feel like every time I get on here, I'm just pouring all my little stuff out on y'all. Like, do y'all have the capacity? I need y'all to hit me up. Put some in the comments. DM me. Let me know. Do y'all even have the capacity for what I be dumping on y'all? I started this podcast because it's super therapeutic. And honestly, if you're going to be anything, be for real. Okay? We're going to keep it a buck here. This podcast is truly where realness meets authenticity. And I think that in this day and age, with social media and all the things, we're so used to seeing people live facades. But regardless of the amount of money you have, regardless of where you work, regardless of how many degrees you have, there are so many people that are still so hurt and broken, and in pain and depressed. And we don't hear or see that side of people. And so, not to say that this platform is only for the depressed, the broken, the brokenhearted and all of that. But this is just a platform where we can be for real about how we truly feel and about what we are really experiencing in life. And so, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep it a buck with y'all about what I got going on, what I don't got going on, and all of the things. I know for me, this episode, I know for sure is going to be one that is very groundbreaking, very revealing, very healing. Open door to grief, open door to grief, open door of grief. That's what it was. Open door of grief. So I came up with that name for this episode because, okay, think about it like this. So, when you were a kid and, your mom, you would go to sleep and your mom would leave, or your parents would leave your door cracked to where the lights were off in your room, but there was a little light that still shined into your room so that you wouldn't be scared or, fearful of anything, have nightmares or anything like that. Okay, so I've been living in that dark room for quite some time. The door of grief has been open for a long time, for at least 2 years. And I can honestly say that the most recent event that happened in my life kicked the door wide open. I think for so long I was living in a space of, and I'm not saying darkness as far as like like demons and stuff, but I'm saying like I was living in a space of just sadness, sorrow, pain, suffering, and still honestly, but I was going with the motions. I've been going with the motions for a long time. And not addressing how you feel, or not addressing how others cause you to feel, or situations or circumstances cause you to feel will literally have you just going with the motions. And for me, I truly believe that I had been going with the motions for so long that I was only experiencing a certain level of light from God because of myself, because I kept myself in a specific space. Now, this episode will get into a few other things. We'll get into, I'm always talking about the sovereignty of God, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I truly believe that because of the decisions that I chose to make, because of the way that I normally approach conflict, deal with things, handle things, I've been living in a dark space for some time. And I just recently lost my cousin, my favorite cousin, Justin, to suicide. And he kicked the door wide open with this one. Wide open. Yeah, he kicked it wide open with this one. And I did not plan on crying on this episode. But we're going to be for real. And if we can't be for real about our feelings, then we being for fake. Okay? Like, listen. I'm so tired of summertime. I'm ready for these gnats to be gone. But no. So, I think that for so long, I haven't been for real about my feelings. And I haven't been for real about being in a space of grief for as long as I have. And I've grieved many things. Healing is a journey. There is no destination with healing. It is a journey. It is something that you have to continuously and perpetually do to overcome and to conquer the feelings or the spirits that you have been comfortable housing for so long. So with me, there are so many different things that I've had to grieve over the years. A lot of people don't know, but there are some that do. When I was pregnant, my child's father had a baby on me. And the other girl was pregnant at the same time I was pregnant. Mind you, we were in a relationship and all of the things. I won't get into the details of that because that's not what this is for. We'll talk about that another time. But that's something that I've had to grieve over the last 6 years. And it's something that I've had to heal from, and I've had to continuously forgive in order for me to live in a state of healing. And the state of healing looks different in different seasons. So that's one thing that I've had to grieve. I've had to grieve, not having a complete family. I've had to grieve not being married at the time that I thought I would be married. I've had to grieve expectations. I've also had to grieve during that same time I was pregnant. My mom was going through domestic violence with my dad, and it caused a lot of tension amongst our family. So I've had to grieve not having the full family unit like I thought I would as a village or as a community for my baby. And for me as a single mom, I've had to grieve even though like my dad and I, and anybody knows, my dad and I has always had a great relationship. And he's my stepdad, but he was all that I knew, because even going before me having a child, I grieved having an actual genuine relationship with my natural father, and never had it. So never came close to having one either. But I had to grieve that idea. And just moving forward, I grieved my stepdad because of things that happened in my household, and because our relationship didn't pan out the way that I expected. However, we did go to therapy. We did therapy sessions together. We talked, we mended our relationship. The Lord mended the relationship. And I actually have not talked to him in 2 years. So I'm grieving that relationship. Not even me now realizing that my failed relationship with my natural father was connected to that one, because I so badly wanted a relationship with my natural father that I was in great relationship with him, and when that failed, I feel like basically both failed. And so I grieve that relationship. I grieve romantic relationship. Although the my child's father had a baby on me, we were in a relationship, and it was actually one of the healthiest relationships I had prior to everything happening. And I really grieve having a healthy romantic relationship that also involved friendship, that also had a foundation of friendship. Do I desire marriage? Of course I do. But I have found a certain level of contentment with God, to the point where I'm like, baby, if it happened, it happened. If it don't, I'm good. So I thank God for that. I thank God for the peace that he's blessed me with as it pertains to that topic. But then many of you know from like episode 1, 2, 3, whatever, that I am a full-time entrepreneur. So I grieve sometimes having a job. I quit my job last year, June of 2023, and I grieve having a consistent paycheck. Okay? I grieve just that the consistency of financial stability. And honestly, as a full-time entrepreneur, I don't know where the next penny is coming from. And so I've gone through the ringer financially over the last year and some change. And it's been very, very tough. It's been very tough. But the door has always been cracked. I've never truly had the door completely open. And so I've lived in the darkness about all of these things. And it's not to say that I haven't talked about them. I've talked about them. I've gone to therapy. I've allowed the Lord in. There was a crack. So there was light still there. But I don't think, one, that I allowed the Lord in enough. And two, because the Lord is a gentleman. Well, we're still on one. Because the Lord is a perfect gentleman, he would never force himself into a space. And so I allowed him in just enough for me to still conceal how I felt about certain things. And with my cousin passing away, he literally kicked the door wide open. And now it's almost like I can see from a different perspective. I can feel from a different perspective. There's a new level of grace. There's a new level of love. There's a new level of peace that I have. There's a new level of trust in the Lord that I have. there is a new level to things that I hate. Death had to give me access to, or understanding to, but I'm grateful that my cousin, his life will still exude the glory of God. His life's story will exude the glory of God, and his legacy will give God glory, will bring glory to God's name. And I'm grateful that his life, even though he's gone, his life will still be of great impact to so many people because of the way that his death kicked my door of grief wide open. It kicked it wide open, and it's making me address certain things. But a part of me, a part of me is so grateful for the mercy that God continues to show us on a daily basis. And I'll get into that in just a few seconds of how the Lord had me studying mercy the week that he passed. But it's the mercy of God that led me to the sovereignty of God, that also led me to the intentionality of God, to understand that the door was cracked for a certain amount of time because I didn't have the capacity, I didn't have the stewardship, I didn't have the wisdom, I did not have the patience to address my grief. And I think that the Lord, the amazing thing about Jesus is, and his sovereignty, is the fact that nothing in the Bible is cliche. I'll be in the middle of a statement about to say something. Nothing in the Bible is cliche. And I think that oftentimes people take the verse in Romans 8 and 28, and they make it cliche. But there's nothing cliche about that verse that says that God will work all things together for the good of those who love him and that are called according to his purpose and his plan. That verse alone exudes and displays the sovereignty and intentionality of God. And it is the intentionality of God that allowed me, because the word says that God will allow calamity and joy, that would allow me to live in such a dark place for so long. And at the moment that calamity hits, at the moment that death hits, there's a shift. And I'm grateful that there's a shift, because I truly believe that I'm on the brink of breakthrough. I truly am. I'm on the edge of something spectacular happening. And it took the Lord allowing calamity to happen, allowing bad things to happen, for his goodness to shine bright for his light to come in. Ah, my God. And it's not just me. It's not just me. The Lord allowed this. The Lord allowed this so that my family could see and could witness the glory. My family could witness the healing. My family could witness the love. My family could witness the peace of God. He did this so that there would be a new level that would open up. This open door of grief is the door that opened the chamber of glory. And I didn't know that that's how this was going to go. I mean, yeah, I didn't know. But the Lord is very, very, very intentional about how he chooses to do things. He is very intentional. And me studying the mercy of God the week that my cousin passed was no coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence when it comes to God. Not one. So I want to share with y'all what the Lord gave me about mercy. Got my notebook right here. God shared with me that mercy. Well, let me share with you the definition of mercy first. And then I will share with you the rabbit hole that I travel down to receive the revelation that the Lord had for me. So mercy means to withhold punishment or harsh treatment that can and should be inflicted. Mercy is a synonym for forgiveness. And the Lord, I can't assume that you know. It says in Lamentations 3 that we receive new mercies every single morning. And his mercy never ceases. They never cease. He never ceases to give us new mercy. So that means he never ceases to withhold harsh treatment or punishment from us. Every day. We're not even worthy to be here every day, but we are. So that just tells me that alone tells me that there's something to do. As long as you have breath in your body, there is something to do. There is an assignment with your name on it that needs to be completed. And honestly, that's the really, really short version of what the Lord gave to me. But I'm going to read a few of my notes to kind of help you understand what the Lord gave to me and why I'm sharing it with you. So, mercy yields compassion, and mercy displays God's grace and his faithfulness. I also read in Nehemiah 9 how the Israelites, they were cutting up, okay? But they went into moments of repentance and moments of worship that in turn granted them the mercy of God. And it can be a little confusing reading it, because it would make it seem like God's mercy is conditional, but it's not. Mercy is but a mere opportunity to either choose God or to choose sin. To choose God or to choose comfort. And from there, when you choose God, from Him freely giving you mercy, that's you giving your yes. The word says in Nehemiah 9 that life is found in obedience. And what I got from that was mercy is the opportunity that gives you two choices. You have two choices, two opportunities. You either choose fulfillment or you choose complacency. And fulfillment is found in obedience, and complacency is found in comfort of your sin. And so, either way though, either way, the sovereignty of God trumps. The sovereignty of God trumps all. The sovereignty of God trumps your opportunity. The sovereignty of God trumps your choice. The sovereignty of God trumps your free will. And honestly, I will tell you this, that God's mercy is found in His sovereignty. God's mercy is found in the details of His sovereignty. And because we don't have the human capacity to understand God in totality, in the fullness, we'll never understand His sovereignty in the fullness. So I wrote something here, and it says, God is the only one who is privy to every detail of our lives. Not just the happening of everything, but the rhyme and reason behind it all. Because it is God who not only has the blueprint to our lives, but is the one who has created it, this proves that even our free will is laced in His mercy. He created every detail of our life so intricately that He provides mercy for every encounter, every experience, every decision, and every perspective that our free will might lead us to. So God's mercy is only for you to choose Him. It's for you to make a choice. But at the end of the day, His sovereignty trumps your choice. It trumps your choice. End of the day, God's sovereignty trumps your choice. Regardless of what you choose, there is still mercy to be given. Now, us choosing to obey the will of God would be us living a life of fulfillment. But us choosing to live or to disobey God, it robs us. It forfeits our opportunity to live in freedom. And it guides us more into a life of pleasure, which is only momentary. But the life of fulfillment gives you freedom. And so, I'm not gonna lie, that thing tore me down, okay? Tore me down. I truly believe that in all of this, in all of it, we're meant to grow in faith. We're meant to grow in stature. We're meant to grow in power and authority. And we can't do that without a yes. We can't do that without a yes. And I think that my cousin's death has truly caused me to give God, I gave him like a, yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. All right. Like I gave him that. But I need to give him a full, complete YES. A yes. And my cousin's death has shifted my perspective so much that I will never, I pray I never, I want to cry. I want to like just bawl my eyes out. I want to never take the mercy of God for granted again. Because that's where we find ourselves. That's when we find ourselves in a state of complacency. And I do not want to be in a state of complacency. Because complacency lands you in position for things that you're not ready for, or that you don't foresee coming or happening. Like premature death. So I don't want to be in a space where I'm choosing my comfort over my fulfillment in God. I don't. And so this open door of grief has really given me a fresh perspective. It has given me a new peace, new grace, a new voice. And it's so crazy because the morning, the morning that my cousin passed away, I woke up at 4:30 that morning, and I started writing about forgiveness. And I literally said, and some of you who may be watching this can attest to this, I put it even on my like close friends on Instagram, that I was not allowing the enemy to muzzle me anymore. And over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of just been asking myself, was it the enemy or was it me? Like, I muzzled myself because of fear. I muzzled myself because of rejection. I muzzled myself because of laziness. I muzzled myself because of all of these things, because I took the mercy of God for granted. And it's only by his mercy that I'm even able to speak. It's only by his mercy that I'm even able to do this. So, what, like, what's tea? Like, what am I doing? And it's not by happenstance that when my cousin did this, when he left this earth, that this kicked that door of grief wide open. So I just want to challenge y'all to address your stuff. Address your stuff. Address your stuff. If that means going to therapy, if that means going to I don't know, going to therapy, going to your pastor, being a part of a community, a discipleship group, a mentorship group, anything. Get it in your word. Whatever that means for you, address your stuff and communicate it. Communicate it. Get it out. Write it down. Write a book. Do something, but get it out. Because your grief does not deserve to live in darkness forever. And mine did. It was in darkness for a mighty long time. However, my cousin kicked that door wide open. There's no more cracks in the door. And I'm able to give God a clear yes, a concise yes, a real, genuine yes. And I'm glad about it. I'm glad about it. I'm glad that God was intentional enough about me to withhold the punishment that grief could have even had on me. Because truth be told, I could have been gone a long time ago. And I know a lot of like churchy people use that saying, but I'm saying this from a place of realness. I would not be talking on this podcast had God not been intentional about me and given me mercy. So open the door to your grief. Open the door to your grief. Open the door to the things that you've been holding hostage, that you've been allowing to live in the darkness because you don't necessarily want to expose them or address them. And do that. Because what you address, the enemy can't shame. The enemy cannot shame what you have addressed and what you have spoken about. So this has been episode 5 of Be For Real the podcast. Open door of grief. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, if you're going to be anything, be for real. Bye.